Hi, I'm Maite Makgoba and I'm an under 40 CEO.
The African Renaissance. The concept that the African people and nation shall overcome the current challenges confronting the continent and achieve cultural, scientific, and economic renewal is here, with young men and women taking the lead. Some call them the new school heroes. We call them under 40 CEOs.
Maite is a qualified linguist who studied at the Tshwane University of Technology and works for the South African National Defence Force. Working in the military and growing up in the township contributed to her now or never attitude towards life. She launched her company to produce dolls with an ethnic outlook and twist. Her dolls give the much needed representation that African girls and indeed the rest of the world yearn for. A high fashion doll made to rival the best selling dolls in the world. Maite Makgoba is the founder of Mommpy, Mpoppy.
All right, welcome to Under 40 CEOs, Maite.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Maite, you grew up in Soweto. Please do share about your, childhood, your preteen years, and growing up in Soweto.
All right, I was born in Soweto as well. Baragwanath Hospital, one of the largest, busiest hospitals in the Southern Hemisphere.
That's cool.
So yeah, growing up in Soweto, obviously the first part of my childhood, it was back in the days of the previous regime. It was the political climate of the country was very hostile. As young as you are, you remember, the bit of the tension in the country, the police presence, the soldier presence in the township. But in all of that, we had a happy childhood. Somehow, we found a way to make fun of something, that's when you can really realize the spirit of Africans, despite any situation, you still find kids playing in the streets. So it was a very colorful, vibrant, noisy, character-filled type of childhood. So it was beautiful. It made most of us, the people that were born and grew up there in the preteen years, is the foundation. It's either you make it there or... It's survival of the fittest. So since I'm here, so I can say that I'm proudly a Soweto survivor.
Proudly Sowetan.
Yes.
So you attended, then you moved to Pretoria at some point where you attended the Tshwane University, bagging an international diploma in linguistics. I think that was in 2009.
Yes.
Right. Why linguistics in the first place?
Well, prior to my high school years, I was in the East Rand of Joburg. My parents moved to Vosloorus. So I think that's when the love of Vosloorus is a very art-infused place, lots of artists, lots of musicians, photographers, so that's when the love of poetry came, the love of writing, when I started meeting writers and poets and musicians. So I just think the love of reading and writing started growing from there. And I knew that I had to go somewhere along those lines of the creative spaces, but I couldn't draw, I couldn't sing, So I'm thinking, what am I good at? And like, I'm a talker, I'm a writer, I'm a very expressive person. I was good in drama. So I just thought, you know what, writing is the way I want to go, using language, and I was very good with languages at school. So after high school, it was a given. I'm going to do something. I did language practice, linguistics, and because of the love of it. That's why I did it,
So you loved language, loved linguistics, yet after university you joined the Air Force.
Yes.
What was your motivation to join the Air Force?
They wanted linguists, they wanted language practitioners in the Air Force. So when we were recruited, I could say there was a big need for linguistics, because remember South Africa has got 11 official languages, and so there was this move of making all official documents and in all South African languages, and as well our presence in Francophone countries, our presence in Portuguese, previously colonized Portuguese countries, our interactions with other different countries, the Brazils, your Russia, your German. So with that, they had a large need for language practitioners. So I saw a gap, and I said, you know what, that uniform looks good. I think I look good in it. And when I wore it, I fell in love. So
wow.
I still followed the path, but in the military, surprisingly enough.
All right, so 10 years in the military.
Yes.
Are you now a retired military veteran officer?
No, I'm not a retired military. I'm still, volunteering, serving the nation where the need is. Obviously, the military is not something that can make a permanent career. It's obviously a voluntary service. So whenever the need is, I'm there to hit the call.
If you're like me and wondering what a trained linguist who joins the military is doing in the toy industry, and not just the toy industry, but children's dolls, then we must ask the right question to find out.
All right, Mommpy and Mpoppy.
Yes.
At what point did you decide to found, I'm about to go there, Mommpy and Mpoppy? At what point?
I think at a point of being, when most us as girls, there's a time of our lives where we're all having kids, right? And so there was just this baby boom in my life, of all my little nephews and nieces, and obviously now there's all these birthday parties that you have to attend, and you have to, because you're the super auntie. So, and I've turned myself the super auntie, so I'm obviously supposed to bring the super gifts. And that's where the idea came from. It was so frustrating shopping for African kids in South Africa, in Africa. It was very frustrating because there wasn't really anything that was for them, that was intended to, make them feel like they're, that they're part of the bigger scheme of the world, being in the international community, So it was just so frustrating. The clothing had nothing that represented them. The toys had nothing that represented them. I just thought, well, how come is it that we had the same problem growing up during apartheid times, and it is still the same thing, after 20 years or more than 20 years after democracy, and we're still facing the same problem. So I just thought that, they say be the solution that you want to see. So that's when I decided to.
All right, so I'm sure over time now you've properly distilled who your target audience is.
Yes.
Who would you say is your target audience?
My target audience has honestly went ahead and defined and redefined themselves. Obviously, when this started, was meant, for, I was thinking, for African little girls, South African little girls. And you'd be surprised when you're getting international requests. And he was saying that my child needs to know, he needs to have a real representation of the world. I can only find dolls of this particular color. You are getting people from China, you're Russia, you're Netherlands, and you're thinking, this was meant for, your South African girls. And the response is getting bigger and bigger because of the fact that of how we packaged our brand, of how we presented it. Because they've always been, trust me, we are not the first black doll, but we might be the first African kiddies character that had represented themselves and manifested themselves in so many ways, and not just in dolls. And how we also clothed the doll, how we presented it, saying we're giving that black girl magic. It was a whole phase of the black girl magic, the African magic spark, the work. So we were giving something that, in Africa, people have never seen us, that as you can have that Afro-fabulosity, so that the hair, how we did it, the tiaras, the clothing and everything. So people, I think they liked how the new younger Africans see themselves and how they want to portray themselves to the world. And that's just was the start of it. And that is why I'm saying that my target market keeps on, it stretches, it evolves. It's, I will do this intended for this, and then I'll be surprised, I'll get a response somewhere else. So that's the thing, you put your net out there and you see which fish, you might get an octopus, starfish. Yeah, just put the net out there.
Okay, that's where you were. That's where you started from. But tell me, where are you now, and what are your plans to scale?
Where we are now is the plan is growing bigger, but it's also going back to basics. When your brand starts hitting the international market, when you start getting response from larger corporate, larger toy shows, independent stores, I think somewhere along the line you forget the initial people.
You may lose your essence.
Yeah, the initial people that you did this for. So I think as much as the plan is expanding, but it's going back to basics. It's making sure that the child in the rural area has access to Mpoppy, from the villages, from the townships, not only your middle class, your working class, but from the places that I come from.
Amazing. Yes. So I'm sure growing up you had other interests, things that you thought you might do at some point or the other. Yeah. Tell me, do you still intend to pursue those, and what are those things?
Yes. Growing up, if there's one thing that my late father and my late brother had in common, our best quality time was watching cartoons together. So I grew up in a house of grown men who were sitting watching Dennis the Menace, Bugs Bunny, you know, and that was the best time. So animation is one of the biggest love that I just don't only have. My nephews are studying it. My brother was like, every time when he came back from work on a Friday, he would like rent out, you know, you say cassettes of animation. My father every morning, like before he leaves, even my uncle, you know, you would find like cracking up. You find this man cracking up so early in the morning, so it's animation. So that is something that this brand is leading me towards, and it's something that I've always known that, like I said, I like writing. So I've always had scripts in my head of animation. I always like doing the voices. You know, I've always been fascinated about, okay, who creates this cartoonist that? So hence we're saying that we created a kiddies character because the intention was always to go there. So that's always been the love. So this brand, it helps me and the company to reach where exactly that we wanted to get as well.
Amazing. So in building this brand thus far, what are those major hurdles and challenges that you've had to overcome?
I think the challenges are at different points of the business. You know, when you start, the first challenge will be manufacturing. Once you've gotten that hurdle over, when you know you realize that, oh, nothing, 80% of everything plastic is not done in Africa, then you realize, oh, okay, now you have to get it manufactured overseas. Once that's done, then you have to get over the hurdle of being visible in retail and having to convince them of something that they've never had. And they'll tell, like, we've been in the business for 30 years, we've never had black dolls, we don't know how to respond, we don't want to take the risk. So you have to now create your own market, you know, a market that does not even exist. We don't even know how this product is going to perform because there's nothing to go on by. And once you do that, and then you risk the competitors that come from what you created from scratch, will come from different angles as well. And so it all depends on the different levels of where your business is. I could think right now as well, the biggest challenge that we have is we realize that in the kiddies entertainment and lifestyle industry, you have to be an all-rounder. You know, I could make examples of your Ben 10s or maybe of your Hello Kitty, you know. You have to be visible in every sphere of the child. So it's an issue of making sure that, I mean, we have African broadcasters that support us, you know, make sure that we have channels for African kids, content, what our kids consume, because that's where the kids' love for anything comes from.
Amazing. So what would you say makes the South African business landscape unique?
I think it's so unique because South Africa in itself is so multidimensional. The rural to the urban to, you know, you find like a colored person from Cape Town or from Joburg, they're totally different people. So that's what makes South African business, there's so much opportunity because you get so much different markets. So it's either you cover it all or you find a niche and you excel in it, you know. So that's just the beauty of this country. And for the fact that South Africa is like one of the, you know, besides Nigeria, of course, one of the biggest metropolitans in Africa, Johannesburg itself. So you find different African countries, you know, so the influences as well, they grow. So I wouldn't even necessarily need to travel out to know, you know, the Congolese music, to know Nigerian movies or meet a Nigerian superstar, you know, whether in music or whatever, even the business essence of it. So you get to learn about it right here. So that's just the beauty of it, because you know different target markets by just staying in one place. And that is the beauty of South Africa.
The inspiration behind Mommpy and Mpoppy may have come from a need and a gap that Maite saw in the market, but she's not resting on her oars until she has changed not just the perception of black dolls, but built an enviable market share for the business.
So what would you say is the current business structure at Mommpy and Mpoppy?
I think where we are right now, we are trying to have more of an online presence. You have to keep up with the times. As much as, you know, people would assume that, no, people still like going to the shops and they still want to shop and the smell of buying something new from the shop. But, you know, the market translates differently. You know, people are they're buying online, you know, people don't want to stand queues anymore. So that's what Mommpy is, that's the direction that we're trying to head as well, you know, more online presence. And as well, that also covers our international demand as well. So that's the structure we are headed. Less retail and more online, just to cover a larger sphere.
All right. So what would you say are the most critical lessons that you've learned and can share in running a business and possibly running it to profitability?
Patience. Yeah, patience and passion. Like, if you don't have a passion about something, you're going to run out of patience for it, you know. But if you're passionate about something, then you'll be patient from the production, from the sales, from training staff, from dealing with HR elements of your staff. And, you know, so if people feed off your energy. So if you are not passionate about what you're doing, and it will translate into every corner of your business.
All right, tell me, how has travel and interacting with different cultures helped to shape your person and impacted your business?
It's had a greater, because I think as well, it changed it helped me understand that there is no definite African this. Africa has got like 50 different faces. So imagine trying to have a face, a product that you say is the face of Africa. This continent, you go to Morocco, it's a totally different Africa. True. You go to Sudan, there's something else. And you come to South Africa, you're seeing something else really different. You go to Central. So it makes you appreciate the fact that really, if you really want to have something that it represents the whole of Africa, you probably have to have 100 different dolls.
Maybe more.
Maybe even more, yeah. Exactly, you know. So it has helped me find different elements. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be just the look of the face, but if you have that Maasai cloth, you know, if you have the beads from this particular country, you know, so it just helped me to find what other things that people pride themselves in about the country and find a way for Mommpy to represent that. So that's how it's helped me to travel and interact with different cultures. That's
amazing, actually. So you've received a lot of nods, accolades, recognition for your work. I mean, you're on BBC, you're everywhere. What do these nods, accolades, recognition, what do they truly mean to you?
I think that we started something good, and we started something unique, and we realized that we're pioneers, because we wouldn't get into like so much response from your Forbes and your New York Post, New York Times, if this was something that they've already seen or known about. So it gave us the, because we were thinking that, you know what, we might just think that we're the first, but you find that there's somebody who's doing the same thing somewhere, you know, that just maybe we don't have access to that. But how the world responded to it, it showed that we really are pioneering this thing. We really are starting something good. And I like how even as much as people can say, oh, but now you've got so much competition, but now it gives like parents options. Now you find people who created albino dolls, you know, with different African skin conditions. Do you get what I'm saying? So now the African parent has option. Remember when we started this, there was nothing, you know, so instead of thinking of saying that, oh, but there's so much competition now, but it's good. It's keeping me on my toes. It's making the market more vibrant. I mean, it's giving African parents options. So that's what those nods did.
All right. So how would you describe your leadership style?
I think when needs be, very laissez-faire, but I have my moments. I think the military side, being a military officer, I mean, I went up to the senior officer, major rank. I think that does come out here and there when I need things to get done, and then you'll see Major Makgoba will pop out, you know. But I think the artist in me as well will come with the laser spheres. I give people enough freedom to, I'll give a person a project, say, run with it, go attend the meeting, call me when you need me to close a deal, you know. So most of the ladies that are in my company, I rely on them they'll actually go and negotiate themselves into whatever deal that they need to, whether it be at a store, whether it be at a project, charity project, animation project. But I show that I trust their skills and I have confidence in them.
All right, so tell me about your flaws and your feelings as a leader.
Yeah, my flaws. My flaws is, I can get too passionate. Sometimes, you know, I can get too passionate, and so then I'll be extra expressive, right? Even though, you know, sometimes when you have something in your head, you need to bring yourself towards the level of this person. They don't have it in their head. So you need to make sure that when you speak it, they actually get to the point that you are. But because you have thought about it for a week now, you've dreamt about it, and when you get that, and you want to see them getting that, and they're like, what is she talking about? So that's my flaw. I get too excited and get too passionate sometimes, and I lose people in that.
All right. So what would you say are those key skill sets that a CEO needs to acquire in managing people?
I think first of all, you need to understand that you are not working with machines, right? You're working with human beings. So I think once you understand that part, that a human being just doesn't, when you press the button like in a computer, they will just respond. When you type X, then X, it's automatically is going to be X. You know, it might just not be that. And you need to know the strengths and the weaknesses of your people. You need to know who to put where, right? There's no point of trying to make a fish fly. You are just up for failure. And also, some people have talents that they don't want to nurture. But being a leader, sometimes when you put somebody in a different, you get to see something about it. Then refine that skill, develop it. Find a way to say that, you know, this member actually can excel in this and this and that, you know. So encourage them and tell them, take the chance, take the shot. Why don't you do this and see how far you can get.
All right. So what would you say are those values that are important to you and your company?
We about the Africa that our grandparents and our ancestors dreamed about. Those are the biggest values. We want to see the type of Africa that we have in our head, right? So everything that we do, you know, we always have to remind ourselves, what was the purpose of this? If we go this route, what are we trying to do? What mindset are we trying to change? So my company, as much as it's a business, it's also, we are trying to handle social ills, problems that we are seeing now as grown women, as African women. And it's things that started when we were young because of what we were exposed to, what we were playing with, what we were watching, what it was in large consumption, you know, and that's where you find the self-hate here and there with African women, you know. So it's those things that it's not only just about play, but you understand the responsibility that this has, because we've seen the impact that it's had on some of us growing up. So it means that as well, we are putting that, now we are playing that role now. We are putting this in kids' hands. So what do we want to achieve? What do you want to tell this child? So it must go beyond just the toy, you know. Hence we would put Mommpy in roller skates, hence we'd put her in positions where, you know, she's of a superhero or whatnot. We're trying to not just only change the love of your skin or your hair, but also as women, you need to see yourself as a superhero. Right, you find Mommpy flying through. You know, we have them in most of the animation posts, or just she's lounging on a bike, doing something adventurous. You know, because we want little girls to start thinking beyond. You know, we're not promoting toys like toys that are in the kitchen, brooms. You know, because those things, that's what we were handed to us. You know, and you're not giving a child that thing that, no, as this doll can be a superhero, this doll flies, and you know, you're actually opening up the imagination of the child. You know, but if you just always putting pants into a girl child, and while the boy child gets Legos and electric cars, and you know, they're all having superheroes, they fly and everything. So that's just what we understand. So we really value the responsibility of putting something in your child's hand, and what will this interpret later on in their lives.
All right. Tell me, what's the biggest letdown you've experienced in business so far?
I think trying to partner up with people that I thought I was empowering, and it did not go. So that was one of the biggest letdowns, you know, because you would think that, okay, fine, you know, if you believe in this person and you put your product in their hands or whatever, and then they just decide to do something scopy. So it's such a letdown. I think that, or when you find African people still preferring to respond, you know, because of simply saying that, my child doesn't know this brand. You know, but that's the point. We want to introduce, you know, so it kind of hurts a bit. Like, you know, parents, you know, you are the ones who are going to help the kids. You need to say that, baby, this child, you know, this doll has the same hair as yours. You know, the parents need to also participate in this, because you cannot just rely on a 4-year-old or on the 3-year-old, you know, to understand something you're putting out. So we must, as parents as well, encourage the life as well. So if parents says, oh no, my child likes blonde dolls and light skin, or, you know, like that, I'm like, yeah, but you know, that's what we're trying to change. We're trying to change that concept that everything that is blue-eyed and blonde hair, it's what beauty is about. You know, we need to start changing that mindset, because Africa, I mean, we're gorgeous. Look at me, I'm gorgeous.
Patience and passion has brought Maite thus far, and she lives to see the dreams of her ancestors in Africa made manifest. But how does Maite spend her downtime, and what are her lifestyle choices?
I have a few quick fire questions for you. What do you love to eat?
African cuisine. In South Africa, they say it's food for men. Sheep's head. cow heels, pig heels. It were essentially in South Africa, that's the meat that is eaten by the men. Like after you slaughter an animal, then the men will have the head, they will have the heart, the what, so they will gather around that. So my father used to actually, when he went to go buy those, he used to take me with, they were the men were, and I'd be like, I'm eating here. And so I used to save my father, so since then, I am addicted to the food that is meant for men.
Okay.
I am deep in it, and that's why it's just such a thick voice and you have such a hard head. It's because of all these men meat that you eat. So that's what I love to eat. Yeah.
So how would you describe your fashion style?
I don't think I've got a fashion style, but I've got a style. You know, I'm a person that just likes wearing stylish thing. I like to stand out.
So what are your favorite brands to wear?
Ooh, right now is Ntizos Pelelets by my boys from Soweto as well. So that's one of my favorite brands to wear because they accommodate my style.
All right, amazing. What CEOs do you look up to?
Richard Branson, because I went to his school. I went to the Richard Branson School of Entrepreneurship, so that he's one of my favorite. But of course, your Walt Disney's, the dreamers, you know, the crazy ones, him as well.
All right, what's your favorite car to drive?
Jeep Wrangler.
All right, beautiful. What's your favorite travel destination?
So far, Zanzibar. Paradise, the sunsets to die for.
Your favorite book of all time?
Right now, it has to be now Chimamanda. Yes, Manifesto of a Feminist.
And what book are you reading right now?
Right now, I'm going inside the mind of the engineers of apartheid. So I'm reading the book it's called Eugene to Go by Anna Marie Janssen.
So lastly, I'd like to know, Maite, what makes you happy?
What makes me happy is sunshine, food, fashion, friends, laughter. That is me. Get me on a good day. That's what makes me happy.
All right. Thank you for coming on Under 40 CEOs.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Maite Makgoba, and you too can be an Under 40 CEO.